All right, so we're doing a neurographic art, and neurographic art gets its name because it kind of looks like neurons in your brain when you're done with it. And it's something that I kind of learned over the summer, and I've seen it for a while, and I just thought it always looked really cool. By the way, here it is. And I thought I was just like, oh, that's so cool. And it's a cool pattern or like design. Yeah, but I didn't realize that there's actually a little bit more behind it. So the first step of neurographic art is actually to come up with a quest, which I like that language of quest. Quest, a goal, something you want to achieve, but I kind of like calling it a quest because it makes me think of like dragons and stuff. So I'm asking you to come up with your quest, and you're going to write it on the inside cover. I would use pencil, not Sharpie, because I discovered partway through this that the Sharpie seed bleeds through. And I don't know, I mean, that might not bother you, but it kind of bothered me, so I'm just letting you know. So my quest is to be less reactive and more responsive. And what I mean by that is I feel like sometimes I have a tendency that when things happen that I just want to like immediately like kind of have this outward thing. And one of the things I'm trying to do is to kind of take stuff in and respond, which is like a little bit more thoughtful. So that's kind of my quest, is to be less reactive and more responsive. Once you have your quest, it's your goal, your topic, your theme, something you're trying to find peace with in your life. Then you're going to do what might be my favorite part of this, which is draw your stress line. And I would describe drawing your stress line as like, have you ever drop kicked something, screamed into a pillow, any of those things, yelled into the void, maybe gone and like run really fast, or just like that burst of energy that comes from like anger or stress. This is that in line form. So here's how you stress line. Take your pencil, and you're going to just feel that feeling. Like my favorite was, I like to drop kick an empty box. It's really satisfying and it doesn't hurt your foot, but you can get some good air. So this is my line that is drop kicking an empty box. There you go. So I mean, it is like that, like a burst of emotion. There is no right or wrong way to do this. It's probably going to be pushing down really hard. You might go off the page, and that's sort of how it is. So you get your stress line. Now we're going to kind of work through that. So, yeah, so, well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trace over my pencil stress line with my Sharpie. And I generally start by just kind of following the line as close as I can. If I miss kind of, it's actually not that big a deal. You can erase it, or sometimes what I'll do actually is to create something called line variation. I will actually intentionally make parts of the lines wider lines and parts of the lines narrower lines. The other thing I want to do now is, if my stress line did not go off the edges of my page, I'm going to make sure it does. So I've got my stress line. Now is the part where I get to draw the other lines. So this is just, I'm just sort of branching off. I can have lines that overlap. They can be like curved, they can be more straight lines, they can be a combination, but it's just lines that go from my stress line out to the edge of my paper. And you do that until what I would describe as it feels right. Like you've used the paper, you have, I would say, medium-sized spaces. You don't want teeny tiny. Sure could. You don't want to have teeny tiny spaces because that will make future you sad. And you don't want to have big giant spaces because then it just doesn't use a lot of space. So now I'm going to pull out one I was working on yesterday, because your next step is to do what I would call, you're gonna curve out the lines. If I look at this, everything goes into like pointy corners, right? I'm gonna make those corners not pointy. So the way I do that, sure, I'm here, I'm gonna zoom in for y'all. So what I'm gonna do, like there's this sort of V shape here. I'm gonna smooth it out into a U shape, curve it out. So any place where two lines meet, instead of being a sharp corner, I'm gonna smooth it out into a little interior curve. And you know, if it gets a little unwieldy, so that line gets to be a wider line, yep, no big deal. One thing I have noticed is occasionally I've seen students who, instead of curving them in like this, is it still on there? Okay, there. Instead of curving them in, they've actually been like doing sort of outward curves. We want it to be smooth, smooth, smooth. And this is the part that I would describe as the real like stress release, calming. You can kind of just get in the zone with it and keep drawing these shapes. And sometimes I found when I do this that I get to a point and I want to add, like divide up a space more. You can always add more. And it's just chill. I think it's something about that process of first doing that stress line, that really like just full of emotion, and then doing all this to kind of calm and smooth it out. I think that's sort of how it works in your brain. So that's really it. If you want to add color, you are welcome to add color. You do not need to add color. They look pretty cool just in Sharpie and folder color. So that's how it goes.